This is John Lauder, host of The Cheap Seats. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
You're listening to Catch Up, an official news production of Public House Media.
Today is June 24th, 2020, and it's time to catch up on the news that you need to know about.
Today we're helping you catch up on the earthquake that rocked Mexico's Pacific coast,
demonstrators clashing with police in Washington, D.C.,
tennis star Novak Djokovic testing positive for COVID-19,
and children in Minneapolis that helped raise money for those in need in their community.
We're your hosts, Dan Kotnick
and Madeline Kum. Welcome to Catch Up.
The southern coast of Mexico was hit with a 7.4 magnitude earthquake Tuesday morning, with the epicenter located approximately 190 miles south of Mexico City in the Mexican state, Oaxaca. The earthquake occurred at 10:29 local time, or 11:29 Eastern, and could be felt as far away as Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, with Mexico City reporting minor damage to some buildings and power outages, but nothing major.
So far, the worst hit was the city of Crucecitas, where it was reported at least one person was killed and several more were injured from a building collapse. With communication knocked out around the mostly rural area, officials are still trying to determine the full extent of the damages. However, estimate models from the U.S. Geological Survey suggest casualties and damage should be low. The area of Oaxaca is familiar to powerful earthquakes, as only 3 years ago, in 2017, two powerful quakes of 7.1 and 8.1 struck within 2 weeks of each other, which collapsed dozens of buildings and killed hundreds.
The concern now is preparing for potential fallout in the way of tsunamis. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said that tsunami waves could be possible within 1,000 kilometers from the epicenter, which includes the Pacific's coasts of Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. This is a story that will still be developing, so be sure to follow Catch Up on social media for more updates as they happen.
Demonstrators outside the White House clashed with police Tuesday morning as police forces attempted to clear the activists from the area. The area was focused mostly near Lafayette Square, where demonstrators have regularly protested since the death of George Floyd. It's also close to the same area police forcefully removed protesters near St. John's Church earlier this month to allow President Trump a photo op in front of the church.
One of the main reasons for the clearing of the park was the attempt by protesters to pull down a statue of former President Andrew Jackson Monday night. Police responded with pepper spray and batons to quell the group, with a representative from the National Park Service stating the park was temporarily closed and would work to, quote, prevent the destruction on the Andrew Jackson statue in Lafayette Park.
In response, President Trump announced Tuesday morning that he would sign an executive order punishing those who desecrate monuments to U.S. veterans, acknowledging that federal law already prohibits such acts, saying it would, quote, reinforce what's already there, but in a more uniform way. Trump also has criticized efforts to pull down similar statues around the country, with some protests targeting statues mainly dedicated to those connected to the Confederacy.
Tennis star Novak Djokovic has announced Tuesday that he and his wife Helena have tested positive for the coronavirus after participating in a tennis exhibition last week. The Adria Tour, an exhibition tournament organized by Djokovic, was played in different countries around the Balkans. Djokovic's positive test comes after the tournament's final match scheduled for Sunday was canceled following a positive test of Grigor Dimitrov, who was going to face Djokovic in the final.
The event was organized as a way to raise money for charity while the ATP Tour was postponed until August 14th. The tour began with play in Belgrade earlier this month before moving to its second leg in Croatia, with plans to play in Bosnia and Montenegro. While some welcomed the return of some kind of tennis action, many were critical of how the event had been organized, pointing specifically to the lack of strict health and safety protocols at the events.
In contrast to other major sporting events that have started back up, the Adria Tour allowed spectators to attend the matches with no requirement to wear masks. The players themselves took flack from many in the tennis community for their lack of social distancing measures, with pictures on social media showing players standing shoulder to shoulder and even playing basketball together. Outspoken Australian current player Nick Kyrgios wrote on Twitter, quote, boneheaded decision to go ahead with the exhibition. Speedy recovery, fellas, but that's what happens when you disregard all protocols. This is not a joke, end quote.
Launching into some happy news, a group of 9-year-old kids in Minneapolis have raised $100,000 selling bracelets to support Black-owned businesses and families. Due to the coronavirus pandemic and murder of George Floyd, the city of Minneapolis has been hit hard, and Cameron Johnson and her friends hope their donations help those affected get back on their feet. The bracelets are $5 and are coupled with a GoFundMe page that itself has raised $46,000. Cameron's father mentioned that this impact does go farther than just monetary donations. I quote, "Day after day, we're having impactful conversations with so many people. So many of our community members have come by to drop off supplies or just talk about things like racism and injustice, stuff that we don't talk about very often. This goes to show how drops in the ocean can have quite the impact."
Thanks for catching up on today's news with us. I'm Dan Kotnick.
And I'm Madeline Cum. Be sure to catch up with us again tomorrow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
We appreciate you listening to Catch Up. For even more content, follow Catch Up Digital on social media. Just search for @TimeForCatchup.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the stories we covered today. Just use the hashtag #PassTheCatchup on social media.
Catch Up is an official production of Public House Media.